Ding dong, the Vince is no, he's not dead. Never mind. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the Without Context podcast. Please don't sue me, whoever the hell owns the rights to that now.
I was really hoping when Vince announced his retirement that he would walk out at the beginning of Raw and it would redo the limo explosion uh from like 15 years ago.
Jesus.
Just
My favorite
revisit
part
that
about
story.
that, my favorite part about that storyline that literally had to stop because of a double murder suicide,
Yeah,
that we're not going to talk about.
it
Right?
was because if I can't remember it the same it wasn't the same day, it was the Monday after.
it was it was like that weekend, I think, and then they had to do something real quick for Monday.
Yeah, so
'Cause I remember they also had something. They had to do something because he was on ECW at the time, so they had the real quick switch out ECW.
yeah, so um as what we're alluding to, the big news in the wrestling world this week is that Vince McMahon, at what 77, is finally
77.
retiring from the WWE in terms of all
For a
duties.
lot of for a lot
So
of us that took our entire lives.
yeah,
Finally.
I mean, to say Vince McMahon is in a consequential figure in the wrestling world would be an understatement. Like, I don't think wrestling as it is right now and as it evolved from the territory days wouldn't be what it is without Vince kind of
For
at like the
sure.
forefront. And I mean, it's him that led directly to, WCW's, NWO and stealing guys from him. And then that whole Monday Night Wars rivalry, which now we have, for a brief time, we had the Wednesday Night Wars with NXT and AEW. And now it's kind of a head to head on Fridays with Rampage and SmackDown. And I mean,
Would you consider AEW having won that war between Dynamite and NXT?
absolutely.
Okay,
Of course.
I think
moving on.
because I don't because unless I am wrong, that led to NXT getting a whole fresh coat of paint
It did.
because Trips
did.
got because apparently like it with Trips direction wasn't doing it. But that was also back during the pandemic era and like the empty stadium days.
There's a
So
lot going on.
there's a lot of factors to take into account there, and AEW was still relatively new at the time as well. So
AEW was also taking all the indie darlings at that time, so like they were almost forced to like switch up how they were doing the thing.
yeah, so yeah, I mean it's the end of an era to say the least. I mean
For
this
sure.
is easily from 80s to now, so about 40-45 years worth of wrestling history was with this man at the forefront. I mean, you got classic feuds with Stone Cold. You had him in, the corporate or the corporation and the ministry, like all these Attitude Era storylines. He wrestled
At the
God,
time.
if we remember
I
that.
was gonna say, yeah, I was just about to bring that up. And
um,
won, because of course he did.
of course, this is all also probably as a response to all the allegations and all the exposés coming out about him now with the hush money and millions of dollars to basically cover up his devious sexual natures,
Canoodling.
the
And on
unwanted canoodling.
and on top of that now, I think the number of law firms that are investigating the McMahons or Vince McMahon primarily for security fraud, it's up to like 10 now.
Yeah.
So he has multiple law firms investigating him
So
for security violations. So
while it is
it's one thing on top of another.
while it is a big deal, this is probably a response to save face for the company. He's like, if I can get away from the company, and now it's just me, it's not WWE being hit by this. So
It definitely feels like an oh shit button to like hit the eject button.
I know. When I read the news, when was it? It was Monday afternoon, I believe. When I read the news, I instantly thought it's like he's been voted out. Like he wouldn't step down. This is like a board decision. Probably it's like Vince, you need to go away.
For the sake of the company.
Yeah, I think
After
probably.
all I've sacrificed.
I mean, that's the thing. This is a publicly traded company, so shareholders might have been starting to breathe down people's necks. I mean, you have that combined with kind of the state that it's in right now. I mean, your world champion isn't really around So you're kind of focusing on all your mid card guys, but you haven't done anything to really build up. So it's kind
He's
of
still getting his ass whooped every weekend.
so WWE is kind of in a weird spot right now, and I feel like this was just the response to it. Because now you have, with the news of this, you have Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon being co-CEOs, and Trips being handed the reins to creative, which back in the black and gold era for NXT was the hottest thing that WWE had, bar none. Like they put on every kind of banger match you could think of. They had
Jushin Liger versus what's his name?
But
Tyler
Tyler Breeze.
Tyler Breeze.
Tyler Breeze.
I mean, you had the excellent. I mean, before he became another, sex pest, the Aleister Black Velveteen Dream feud.
Yeah,
which was great. You had Ciampa with his just like tyrannical title reign and the whole feud with Johnny Gargano. And I mean, you got angles like Adam Cole visiting Gargano's dad's like restaurant or something like that, like during their feud.
that was
so
great.
It's like that's all like Trips's like influence compared to the main roster stuff where Killer Cross, Karrion Kross comes up and starts looking like he's out of Mad Max. He starts looking like Lord Humongous. And it's just kind of
starts looking like he just walked out of a BDSM
and then he
club.
loses to Jeff Hardy his first night. Like it felt kind of vindictive at times.
And then there was a whole thing with Keith Lee where he became Bearcat Lee.
And then he left.
Bearcat Lee. Like, I don't know what the hell
did something with him. I wouldn't have minded them making, because they have to give him something marketable. So I wouldn't mind that as long as they did something with him, but they didn't.
And now he's AEW Tag Team Champions with Swerve, who didn't even get a chance on the main roster when they cut him.
Nope. Like they all just disappeared within like 2 weeks once they got to the main roster. And I really felt like they should have done a lot more with Hit Row, because in NXT they were just coming up, man.
They released all of Hit Row, I think, within the span of 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like Hit Row was like gold that they had, and they fucked that up.
They could have easily been the best stable. Like, you always have these tag teams, and then you have a stable like Judgment Day who isn't even on TV anymore. So good job with that one. They could have had, the tag team. They could have had the one title like the US or the Intercontinental. They could have had the women's champion after a certain amount of time. Like, you could have marketed these people as stars, as like a squad. But it was just like, you're gone, you two are gone. Not even like given a chance.
Like it's like they immediately got to the main roster and they blew it up immediately. Because if you remember, I can't remember the girl's name, but she got released immediately.
Is that a B-Fab?
Okay, yeah, B-Fab. She was released almost immediately once they got to the main roster. And then they just decided to just shelve the rest of them like within the next 2 or 3 weeks or so after that.
Admittedly, my favorite thing out of all of that is Top Dollar talking shit on AEW and other companies and then immediately getting released like the next week. So it's like, oh, I guess you're not gonna work for these other companies you shit talked a week ago. Like,
yeah,
it's so perfect. But I guess that leads us to the next thing. Now with Triple H being back in a creative role, at least with all of his toys now in his toy box. I mean, they still have a team of writers. They still employ people. But I'm pretty sure he's going to have more of a firm hand on, that's dumb. We're going to do this.
Or even if not that, telling the wrestlers like, hey, this is dumb. We hired writers, but this is stupid. Yeah. Go do your thing.
Here's what you're going to do. You're going to take what these writers gave you. You're going to, as long as it plays out like this, do whatever you fucking want to do in that ring. Like,
yeah.
It's like, don't make it a formula.
You have the beginning here. You have the end here.
You got
the
10
middle,
minutes.
That's you.
Yeah, it's like,
it's just to be like a set of bullet points right there. It's like, hey, just make sure you get all of these, but go for it. It's like, go crazy. Use your imagination.
You got 10 minutes. Go out there, do whatever you want to do. This is the finish. Let's go.
Just don't break PG. Have fun.
Yeah.
Well,
so
for now, don't break PG. It's going to be TV 14 soon.
Yeah. So what I have brought up right here is I have an article brought up from Wrestling Inc. Just kind of getting other people's reactions to Vince McMahon, being retired. And it is kind of like a mixed bag of some people being very happy for Vince that he's retiring, he's getting a chance to relax, and they're still like being pretty, honest about it. It's like, he's a good guy. I'm glad he can relax now. But then you have people who are just like, yeah, man, Vince retiring. Thanks for everything. And then you have some people who are probably like, oh yeah, real Tyler Wilde, who I don't even remember who that is. Bye, Felicia. So you get this real
What was
mixed.
the reaction from Tony Khan?
Oh man.
So yeah, so on to that. Tony Khan,
comment about him being the longest tenured CEO.
the same day, Tony Khan would like to be thankful that he is now the longest tenured CEO of a wrestling company, which I don't even think is accurate, because I think Dixie Carter
was around right there, man.
Was around longer. I didn't watch a lot of TNA, so I wouldn't know.
Well, they've been around for 20 years at this point, so
But this kind of brings us to kind of the crux of this episode that I wanted to talk to you guys about, with us feeling like a new era, at least creatively, of wrestling. Because now you got Tony, who is an okay booker at times. He lets the wrestlers do what they want to do, and the wrestlers in the ring can't perform. And now you have Triple H, who's probably going to loosen the reins a bit on his guys and have a little more of a hand in creative. And if he can do what he did in NXT, then you got these two very high class, like, creative minds finally starting to go at it. It's not Tony versus Vince and his team. It's Tony versus Trips, which kind of has me excited.
How much do we know that Tony Khan has on the creative aspect?
I know Tony Khan has bookers. Like, I know he has some guys on his creative team, but every final decision comes from him.
Okay. So
he approves things. Sometimes he'll suggest things. Like, I know with the Wingmen, the group with Dolph Ziggler's little brother and Peter Avalon and the two other guys, he came to them with that idea. So, but Tony is definitely heavily involved in the actual direction of the booking.
Okay.
So
my whole point about that is so remember, we have Triple H in charge of creative and Stephanie in charge as co-CEO. So you might as well have one of them on the other role, because they're married.
Yeah, I'm going to say Nick Khan is outnumbered when it comes to decision making. So yeah, I'm excited, and I'm wondering if you guys have any thoughts about what, like, not the immediate future, because there's going to be like a growing period.
Growing pains.
It's not, because I didn't watch wrestling on Monday, but I think they set up the triple threat with Becky, Bianca, and Asuka for SummerSlam, I believe, or is it Hell in a Cell? I can't remember. I know SummerSlam is this weekend, which I'm excited to see, because if it's creatively Triple H, that's Triple H's first pay-per-view of his, like, run here. So I can only imagine how that's going to go.
Next Sunday, boys, get ready.
I think it's on a Saturday. I think they moved them to Saturdays now.
Yeah, it's actually this Saturday night, because I think a lot of WWE's pay-per-views this year are going to be on Saturday night instead of Sunday, which I don't know why they did that, but it sounds really cool.
No, I don't mind that, because if you have Saturday as the WWE pay-per-view, at some point it's gonna be Saturday WWE premium live event, and then Sunday AEW pay-per-view.
Just call it a fucking pay-per-view.
I'm gonna say what they tell me to say.
The thing that annoys me the most is the dumb marketing. Like, that's all that annoys me about it. It's the dumbest marketing. It's like premium live events. Like, they've always been pay-per-views. It's like, just
it stinks of something that was like focus tested with like some 18-year-olds who've never watched wrestling in their lives.
Yeah.
Or they just sat them down like a focus group in some office building somewhere and say, hey, what would be a good idea to replace the term pay-per-view? And then someone was like,
premium live events.
Premium live events?
And it's just
like, so well with our 36-year-old.
Yeah, it's annoying. So looking at so keeping in mind, let's be hypothetical here and say that Triple H now has creative control of SummerSlam and the outcomes and the booking.
Card real quick.
I have it brought up right here. Okay. So the matches that have been confirmed. There's 8 matches, it looks like. We have Roman Reigns versus Lesnar, number 9,
Mhm.
probably. As a last man standing for the unified title. Roman's probably going to keep that because I'm pretty sure Cody signed a contract that he dethrones Roman.
And
I think
he'll be back home.
I
I'm
think
predicting it already.
Cody has the ego. It's like, if you want me to come back, I am going to beat your best guy. And you can do everything you can to make him look tough, but I'm going to beat him at the first pay-per-view I get him at.
I think I feel like I don't think they're gonna butt heads per se. I think they have a better relationship than that. But I think there's gonna be some like
A
not
contract's a
even
contract,
tension,
though.
but like some yeah, for sure.
Right?
That's
Just
the
like
thing.
some sort of like there's gonna be some sort of altercation between Triple H and Cody.
Definitely. Once the initial terms of the contract wear off, I think renegotiations is probably going to put Cody in a worse spot. But I think to get him on board, WWE had to give him everything that he asked for. And I don't think a bigger middle finger from Cody to WWE is, I'm going to leave AEW and then beat your best guy at the first pay-per-view I get him at. Like, I just feel like that is something Cody would force them into a contract with.
Mm-hmm.
We got Pat McAfee versus Corbin. Corbin is pretty much a jobber at this point, so Pat McAfee's winning that one. Triple H doesn't even have to book that match. I think that one's just already
that match
given.
books itself.
Yeah,
that one kind of books it.
Pat McAfee for some reason's on fucking fire right now, and it's
Pat McAfee is so good. Like, I would not be surprised if he like straight up moves to the main roster at some point, like as a performer.
Yeah. We have Bobby Lashley versus Theory 3. I would think it might be their third match.
Lashley.
It's the United States title. Yeah, Vince isn't here to back up Austin Theory anymore. So
is that for the belt? I don't think it is.
It's for the title.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And I mean, Bobby just won the title too, so it would make sense to keep it on him. I think if Trips is going to start doing stuff, he's going to start making champions look stronger. Mm-hmm. You're going to defend your title. You're going to not lose it at some pay-per-view to a screwy finish. Like, I think he's going to start making his champions and his belts mean something again, which I can hope for, because that's the thing about WWE's titles, man. The Intercontinental title feels worthless right now.
Like, it really feels like it really just feels like a prop at this point. Granted, it's been a prop for years now, but the Intercontinental title, like, sometimes I forget who's the champion. I know right now it's Gunther because Gunther's a recognizable figure, but when it was Ricochet and it was Apollo Crews and all, I had trouble keeping up because I was like, but where's the Intercontinental champion? Who's exactly the Intercontinental champion? I was like, oh, it's him.
Yeah,
they don't book the thing on pay-per-view anymore, and I think that's something that with Triple H taking over, they really need to get back into.
No,
it's putting the mid-card titles a lot more on pay-per-view, especially the Intercontinental title.
They do put the Intercontinental title. It's just on the pre-show. So
yeah, that's
the thing. The thing is, like,
about on the actual pay-per-view card, though.
The thing is, it's a workhorse title. It's supposed to be for the guys that can work in the ring, but these guys are not given the time to work in the ring anymore. They're not given the time to tell a good in-ring story. So again, it just feels like it's another title now. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like nobody can really be like the classic, like Bret, the Hart feud and everything, where it's like these guys can just go in the ring and tell you a story.
In saying that, I do think the match between the Usos and the Street Profits will be one of those matches.
I think I feel like if they don't give it to the Street Profits now, the Street Profits just aren't even considered like a threat anymore to the Usos.
Sure.
Like that is, they had the screwy finish at the last pay-per-view where
had a couple of screwy finishes, haven't they?
Yeah, his shoulder was obviously up when he was pinned, so it wasn't even like a valid pin. It's just always been screwy finishes, but like you can only protect teams so many times with a screwy finish like that without it starting to hurt them. So I feel like if there's a time, you have to put the belts onto Street Profits now. So
it's either that or they're planning to break them up, which I really don't want that to happen.
That's another thing. Now. I think they are talking about splitting them up because apparently backstage, the two of them aren't really like seeing eye to eye anymore. And it's just kind of one of those things, but it's like, man, just copy the story that Keith Lee and Swerve are telling, where they don't like each other until they win the titles together.
They're good again. So I thought
and then they'll turn on each other eventually.
And they'll turn on each other when one of them feels the other person caused the team to lose the titles, and then you can start the feud. Like, because I feel like that's what the Keith Lee Swerve storyline is going to go. They're going to hold the titles for a bit, eventually lose them to Team Taz and blame the other person, and then Swerve and Keith Lee are going to get an excellent feud against each other. And that's another thing, dude. Swerve, that jumping kick that he does to people looks so good. And just when he also moonsaults off of Keith Lee's chest is also always really fun to watch.
Super good.
Swerve is hella talented, man. Like I said, that's another person I felt WWE dropped the ball with. You know, I feel like they could have did a lot more with Swerve on the main roster than they did.
Yeah, once we finish going through the card, I want to talk about that too. Like the chance of, well, AEW guys jump ship back because Trips is there. But let's go through the rest of this card.
So we have Logan Paul versus The Miz, because we always have to have a celebrity match during one of the big four.
Sad thing, it's going to be fucking Logan Paul. Like,
it's Logan Paul. I don't really.
I'm willing to put money down right now. He is going to win when Jake Paul interferes. They're going to have both. They're going to have both of the fucking brothers in, so they can eventually put the tag titles on them, because that's for some reason is money.
They would.
And the thing is,
they would. It is money, and I hate it.
And it's not even. That doesn't even sound like a Vince idea. That sounds just like a marketing idea.
It does, but it just sounds so much more like a Vince idea than anything else. I don't know if Triple H would even go through with that, because I mean, I don't know if Triple H would do that. I mean, even though it it would be a marketing thing, and it would probably boost the company a little bit. I know Triple H would do things that make sense. And
the thing is, like, that catches a certain demographic back. And the thing is, like, Vince or Trips at the end of the day is still a businessman.
He is.
He might not like the outcome, but if it gets eyes and money onto the product, then, you know, he might go for it, because there's still a board of directors. It still has a actual board of people, so Trips can't make the company decision. That's Stephanie and Nick Khan. And Nick Khan could get enough people to back him on a decision like this if something is said in like a meeting like that, you know? But so I'm going to curse it. I'm going to say that Logan Paul wins by interference from Jake Paul, and then I just feel like it is the final nail in the coffin. We got Liv Morgan versus Ronda. Liv's probably going to retain, especially if Trips is now the one in charge.
Yeah, I actually hope Liv retains. I kind of hope she retains clean.
I hope she
a clean finish.
The thing is, I can see Natalya getting involved in interfering with Rousey. Like, that's the.
I could see a world where that becomes a triple threat in the next pay-per-view again.
I feel like that's the path that they're going to be following. You know, it's going to go to a triple threat. Because if they end it with disqualification, Ronda doesn't lose clean. The next pay-per-view is a triple threat. Natalya eats the pin. It keeps Ronda looking strong, and it keeps Liv as champion.
Oh, but wait, hold on a second. And then you have Charlotte Flair looming right around the corner.
I swear
that's going to be a factor. That's going to be a factor eventually. I hate to piss on this parade, but
the fact that she is not on this
down the road.
The fact that she's not on this card actually has me surprised. Like, it just.
Oh yeah,
it's a pay-per-view without Charlotte Flair.
She's gonna get on the top rope at the end of the pay-per-view. Just do one of her shitty moonsaults.
We have Bianca and Becky.
That's down the road.
Yeah, they're gonna put the title back on fucking Charlotte, and it's just gonna be like, this is the same shit that was happening previously. You know?
So I think that's an interesting topic. While we're going through the card, so we have a lot of stuff that's possible. What do we think is gonna be like same shit, different day?
I think they're gonna keep Charlotte in like the major title picture. It's just one of those things. It's like she's just a constant these days.
I think that's probably just as a favor to because Triple H loves Ric Flair.
Yeah,
for some reason.
Is Io Shirai still in NXT, or is she up on the main roster now? Do we know?
Don't.
Is-
Io Shirai,
I don't know if she's with the company anymore.
Is Io Shirai still with the company?
yeah, last I heard she's on her way out, but there's just rumors at that point, so I don't know.
I know.
Oh my
I know there was a
gosh,
situation where
she's
she was
32.
in Japan. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought for some reason I thought she was a little bit older. Okay, they were unsuccessful. She was then out of she's out of action with an injury, but she's still in
Okay.
NXT. She's still in NXT.
Okay.
Which
All right.
is kind of criminal, honestly. Like, she's been wrestling long enough in other companies that she shouldn't be in NXT for this long. She should have been on the main roster fucking last year when they needed people, like during the pandemic era. But yeah, I think some NXT people will be called up and kind of focused heavily into, you know, the title scenes. I think Ciampa might actually become his own wrestler and actually be given time to be Ciampa instead of some weird bodyguard for Miz, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like he's just some hired goon, which is just a shitty position for Ciampa to be in.
Criminal misuse of Tommaso Ciampa.
And that just leaves me scratching my head still. I don't know why.
This man goes from the banger Gargano feud, from one of the best heel turns in NXT history,
One of the greatest heels in
to being an afterthought. And this was after recovering his career, being Muhammad Hassan's lawyer back in the 2000s.
Jesus, don't remember that. No, don't. No.
Yeah.
Why'd you remind me of that?
Like, he had to rebuild himself from that storyline, and he did it in Ring of Honor. Like, I know he was in Ring of Honor for a bit as Ciampa, or Tommaso Ciampa. And then he came back, and just like one of the best things in NXT for years. And then just, oh, he's here. He's lucky to be on main event. Like, it's just kind of sad to see that. But I think if Tripp's going to have his way, he'll start to build up his NXT guys back as actual, like, stars on the show. It might even, like, be good to give some of the older people time off. Like, the people who have just been around forever wrestling. It's like, hey, take a break. We'll use some of these other people now. I can see him adopting kind of Tony's thoughts on it. Like, Tony Khan said that after each pay-per-view, the presented roster will kind of shake up, which is why you haven't seen like Sting and Darby on TV a lot, like in their winning positions. A lot of them they've been feuding with House of Black lately and just getting demolished by Brody King to build up Brody King. So it's like pay-per-view happens, the roster kind of gets shuffled a bit, new faces start being the main focus. And then like the other roster kind of takes like a backdrop, like B-side or C-tier storylines compared to like the main like higher B-A focus storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Like even right now, Jungle Boy just came back, you know, and that was that was 2 weeks ago, and last week I don't think he was on Dynamite at all. So it's like they kind of space out their storyline.
Mm-hmm. Christian still comes out with Luchasaurus and kills a guy though. That's definitely a thing that still happens.
Yeah, when Jungle Boy came back, Luchasaurus went back to him, which is just kind of weird. I really hope he would have like stepped up beside him and then betrayed him, because I would want to see Jungle Boy go.
I was waiting for that too.
I want to see Jungle Boy go through Luchasaurus before getting to Christian. You know,
maybe I think that's a trap though by Christian. You know,
I think Luchasaurus is going to turn on him
into a false sense of security, and then Lucha turns on him, and then we get that match between Lucha and Jungle Boy, which eventually will lead to Jungle versus Christian, and it's going to be a banger when that happens.
It's when the Jungle Boy becomes the Jungle Man.
Yeah.
And the fact that he lets Christian just be like the grade A asshole that he's allowed to be on the mic, it's so funny.
Yeah, this is like some 2002 Christian shit.
Yeah, Christian's a good heel. People forget that.
Mm-hmm.
But back to SummerSlam, we have Bianca and Becky, which is kind of a toss-up to me. But I thought it was made into a triple threat.
Also, I don't think it's officially a triple threat yet.
It's just Bianca and Becky. I got Bianca walking out of this one still the champ though.
Yeah, I mean, it fits Becky's storyline of just being on this downward like spiral. We already talked about Miz and Logan Paul. Yeah. And okay, then we have Mysterios versus Judgment Day, which is Priest and Balor. with Rhea on the side with no disqualification tag team match.
Rhea is on leave right now, I believe, for something. Something happened.
She got hit in the head pretty hard by something on accident, I think.
Okay.
I watched Raw this past week, and she actually came back in a segment with the Mysterios where she pretty much pie-faced Ray's daughter, and then kind of abducted Dominic while the rest of Judgment Day beat down Rey Mysterio right in front of him.
Good. That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah,
It's
I like Rhea. I really Rhea Ripley is such a menace on this show now, and I just love it. I love the direction they're going.
What were we talking about the night that Judgment Day turned on Edge?
Mm-hmm.
We were like, all right, WWE, we'll give it to you. We didn't see that coming because it makes no sense. It's like like that was the outcome we had. It was like I did not expect that outcome because that outcome doesn't make any sense at all.
That just came out of nowhere.
If you come from it from like a D&D perspective, it's like when you have like Edge as like this sorcerer or whatever, and you kick his ass and you take Warlock Patron instead.
Yeah, so what I heard is that they wanted Judgment Day to go into a more supernatural route, and Edge vetoed that idea. So I guess on the creative side, they wanted him out of the group now so they could still pursue that like storyline.
Edge is supposed to come back as in an old gimmick, and I'm like, bro, his old gimmick was just him.
His old gimmick was him as a vampire.
Yeah,
but
that was who he was before Edge.
But to run this across you guys, the concept of the heel demon with Finn Balor is kind of intriguing. Yeah. Because I would love to know how that would play out now that he's in Judgment Day, if they ever decide to go the supernatural route.
You could easily make the demon feel like a threat again by making, Finn that, but also kind of giving Damian Priest the kind of pallbearer like aspect to it.
Because Damian Priest already kind of looks like a vampire anyway, so you might have to go.
Damian Priest was the lost brood.
Emaciated.
The lost brood, remember?
Lost brood.
What was his name on the indies? It was like Punishment Martinez or something.
Yeah, Punishment Martinez.
Yeah.
And then it was like Damian Archer before they turned it to Damian Priest back in NXT. It was something.
No, I think it was always Damian Priest.
Yeah, he was always Damian Priest.
I know when he first started in NXT, they let him keep his name, but then when they took him to the main roster, they changed it to what it is now. I feel like you have to give the win to Judgment Day on this one. I don't want a feud between the Mysterios and Judgment Day, but I feel like you have to probably have a storyline where they like corrupt Dominic, because WWE has wanted him to face Rey for as long as he's been training at some point.
And it seems like they've been trying to push more towards that direction of Dominic turning on his father, of joining the Judgment Day, because they've kind of been slowly alluding it to it for the last couple of weeks.
I hate to say it. The more I see Dominic, the more I just see Eddie Guerrero, and I wonder if that storyline was actually real. Like,
buddy,
it's that mullet, man. It's the mullet.
It's the mullet. It's just the obvious like size difference between him and Rey, and I'm like, oh my god, he actually might be Eddie Guerrero's son.
I just you jackass.
That's true, but with the mullet and just like his ring gear, like he probably gets a lot from Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, for sure.
Eddie Guerrero did a lot for the lucha, not just the lucha style. I guess I think Rey's more of the lucha like pioneer in North America for like a mainstream wrestling company, but Eddie Guerrero is definitely up there as well as like a technical wrestler. So yeah, 8 matches. Still feel like that's too many matches for this card. But then again, AEW has been stacking up like 11 matches per pay-per-view now.
They have like 5-hour pay-per-views, which is weird.
They have a smaller number of pay-per-views, but they do stack them and time the matches just long enough to be worth it. Mm-hmm. Like, the matches don't feel like they go longer than they have to on AEW pay-per-views. And I'm hoping that we start seeing that here too. I don't want to see Bobby Lashley, in theory, go for 5 minutes because that just kind of feels anticlimactic. But I don't want to see him go for 20 minutes. You know?
The problem is going to be where, because what I'm seeing in a lot of WWE programming in particular is that a lot of their airtime is ads
It's
and
so many fucking ads.
it's ads and it's their promotional material that's not relating to any match on the card. And it's like the next pay-per-view coming out. It's the tickets that go on sale for the next pay-per-view,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And it's that's easily like 20 minutes you can have in the pay-per-view that could be match length.
So let's point out here because me and you go to. Also, we didn't do it 40 minutes ago. We're joined by Xavier again today. You guys know him from the previous wrestling episode. Yeah, we probably should have introduced him way earlier. Me and Xavier go to the live shows that are here in the area, and seeing like stuff that is live on TV where it's like the wrestler comes out and they cut to commercial, and we're sitting there in the crowd for like 10 minutes.
You're watching this guy just be like,
where
yeah, it's me. Yeah, it's me. Hi.
They don't even do it on
Hello.
the mic. It's like all the lights go down, so you can't even see the wrestler. It's like 10 minutes of that, and then when the show starts up again without the ad, the music turns right back on to the point it left off, and they're in the ring with the cameras on them, like doing their like greeting everybody.
Yeah,
and I'm
it
like,
comes off really weird live because I remember Bobby Lashley and Omos when I went to that last Raw that came here. They
I was trying to get your attention so much during the no, like I'm texting Xavier. I'm like, hey man, I see you. Like, look behind you. I'm on the first balcony, and I'm like seeing like X sit down there, and I'm like trying to like get his attention whenever you turn in my direction. And I'm like,
you gotta throw popcorn at him.
I like look way too much fun there.
I like look behind me to like the section number. I'm like, all right, look at section like 23. I'm on like the first thing that's above the floor, and I'm like trying to get X's attention without like people behind me looking like I'm a fucking idiot.
You're at a wrestling show. You're allowed to look like an idiot.
The most jarring thing though about those ad times during a live show is in the middle of the action in the ring when the ad starts, everybody stops and gets out of the ring. Like they find a way to throw one of them out of the rings, and then they like hit somebody with a move so they can just lay on the floor for the ad break duration.
And then they just like pick it up right where they left off in the commercial.
It is so fucking jarring seeing somebody mid like I don't even know what the term is, like throwing them into the ropes and everything, like mid throw like that, and the person just stop their momentum and get out of the ring. Like it is the most jarring bullshit I've ever seen in my life. It's live shows are fucking weird, man. Like
you gotta admit they have like it's kind of impressive that they're able to like do that actually. Like they shouldn't have to. I'm 100% there with you, but it's impressive that they have that down to a science like that.
Yeah, televised live shows are some of the like most jarring like smash cuts in movies you've ever seen. But like if it's an actual house show, it's just nonstop. Like it's great.
Have y'all seen? Have y'all been to a pay-per-view before?
I have not.
A premium live event.
No, I haven't been to a pay-per-view. I've only been to house shows and a few televised ones.
I've been to because San Antonio is a big city. Yeah. Sorry, guys. So they come here pretty frequently,
pretty regularly.
And so I've been to. I was here. I was at TLC when DX beat Chris Jericho and Big Show for the tag titles at the time.
The Jericho
tables match. Yeah, in a tables match. And I have a picture of like I think it's Jericho just like almost getting a concussion going down through a table.
Oh god.
But that experience during like house shows versus like I haven't been to a Raw in a long time or a SmackDown or whatever, but I've gone to pay-per-views pretty frequently. I've been to Royal Rumbles and stuff like that. And I think the premium live events are really where it's at. It's the perfect mix of like the production values that you expect from like a Raw or SmackDown or whatever, and the nonstop that you get from a house show.
Yeah,
Because
and
you still have ads, but they're at least between matches. They're not doing it mid match, you know?
yeah, it's like that's the thing about like the televised shows. It's just like ad time and everything stops. It's like the lights go dim. It's just, and then you
Which is
sit
weird.
there.
Yeah, and it's weird the way WWE does it like that because when I went to AEW, and that's a live show also, Dynamite didn't quite do all that.
Well,
Okay,
because they do
they
a
had their
picture in
match.
picture.
Yeah, they do a picture in picture, and they just run through these matches. But during the ad breaks, you have like Justin Roberts, like entertaining the crowd here for a bit. Like you would like any other house show. He just comes out, he does a couple bits and things. He makes a few announcements, and then it's just like back to the show. With
Yeah,
WWE, it just comes off really weird. Okay, because you can have like if lights go dark, you have wrestlers just like walking around the ring. Sometimes they'll interact with the crowd, but other than that, it's jarring. It's like it's like stepping into another reality for a second, and then you come back, and then the music hits, and I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah.
So, all
I,
right.
th- it's definitely changed a lot because I remember when I was young, I went to a WCW show that they had here at the Scope, and they do the match, and then between the matches, the ring announcer would come out and like hype up the crowd to kill like the ad time, and then the next match would just get right on. But like it was never the lights going dim. It was never them just stopping. It was like
Yeah.
the match would go through, because I think that's what WCW did. They did the match and then did an ad break, and then did the match and then did an ad break.
You remember the List of Jericho promo in WCW? So he started the list, and then they told him, "Hey, we're going to break." And he just talked so much shit to the crowd and got them all riled up. And then when they came back from break, he was like, "Hold number 3,451."
Yeah, it's like that television magic. It was weird. Like the first house show, it was like match, ring announcer comes up, hypes up stuff. They do like the thing with the cameras like towards the crowd, and it's like everybody do your best, DX impression with like the suck it motion. So it's like cuts to everybody in the audience like doing it. Or it's like the best sign like in the show that night. And then it's like
Yeah,
here's
they do a lot of
another
that.
match. But it's like the live show was just like ad time, nothing for 5 to 10 minutes, and then instantly right back into the action like nothing had happened. It's like, is this what dissociating feels like?
Yes,
Like,
it is.
That's
You see a
exactly
wrestler
what it
just laying down there for a bit, and you're just like, "Me too, buddy. Me too."
yeah. I guess back to the topic of trips. Deca,
Yes.
when it comes to a male wrestler and a female wrestler, who do you think will benefit the most from this creative change?
Oh, I sent you that meme, like at randomly in the AM last night, where it's that Key and Peele sketch where it's like Barack Obama like handshaking everyone and like
Oh, yeah.
does the cool shakes with the black people, like, and it's just showing different wrestlers.
Yeah,
I
what?
think
Oh
I
shoot,
think I
who
think
was that
Asuka.
again?
It's in this group chat. I think Asuka and I think Ricochet have the most to gain from this. I think
Yeah,
they were both, homies with Triple H for a while, and you know, it's that, oh, I guess you're on the main roster now, buddy. It's out of my control.
yeah,
Because remember that whole when Asuka went from NXT to WWE, it was a whole thing. Like Triple H came out, hugged her, like she gave up the title that she had never lost on NXT.
yeah,
It was a whole thing.
and yeah, and I think the person who might suffer the most from this is probably going to be Theory. I don't. I think he'll still be present in like the main title scene, but I don't think he's going to receive the like to the moon push that Vince was probably about to give him. It feels like another attempt at the Mr. Kennedy gimmick back from the
I kind of got that feeling watching Raw the other night. They just embarrassed Theory flat out.
I mean,
Well,
that's what you do with the Money in the Bank winner, though. You embarrass them, and then when they actually win the title, it's supposed to be such a big swerve, even though they've been holding on to it for like 6 months.
that's the thing. It ties into the meme that I sent you of back a few years ago during the Survivor Series build up when Team SmackDown came into the locker room and beat up the Team Raw guy. And it was like every male wrestler on the roster, Austin Theory. It's like now that
I did.
Vince isn't around to protect him. Like, X, what about you? Who do you think's gonna benefit the most from both sides of the
One male
roster?
and one female wrestler.
Man, that's kind of a tall. That's kind of a hard.
And probably
one.
not like a to the top kind of benefit, but who's just going to be shown better than what they are currently.
I think it might be Kevin Owens. You know,
I think KO has a lot to gain
Owens
from this.
Yeah, because Kevin Owens for a while has kind of just been relegated to the KO show and then doing a match here and there and nothing else. He was in that feud with Elias, but I know
Ezekiel. Excuse you.
Ezekiel.
I still say the biggest swerve is if they are actually twin brothers and Elias comes back. That would be the greatest swerve in wrestling.
That would be amazing.
In the last 25 years, the last 20 or 30 years, because that's the Hebner brothers level of like, surprises.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I really do think he has the most to gain from Triple H being in charge of creative, because I think that would lead him back to a push to the main roster. I mean, not to the main roster, but to the main event level of the main roster, and maybe somewhere down the line, he gets back into the title picture, and not just relegated to just doing KO shows all the time. So
it's so sad because he's the first Universal title winner, right?
Yeah, well, the second.
It was Finn first, yeah.
Yeah, it was Finn first, and then it was him. But I would really like to see Kevin Owens get back to the main event.
Yeah.
It would be. I think he can. I think he could pull it off in this day and age. He had an excellent feud with Roman. Back in 2020. What was it, during the Thunderdome era? What was it, early 2021? He had an excellent feud with Roman Reigns. So I really do believe he gets back to that, but as a heel.
I mean, KO's great. Like his feud with Jericho was great, and like him just as a character.
What's my name on this?
He can do comedy really well. He can be like a serious, like I'm just gonna fuck you up wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he probably has a lot to gain from the change of command. What female wrestler do you think is going to probably benefit from this? Since Trips is probably top choices like Toni Storm, all that, like the NXT ladies that were released are gone and not probably going to make a main roster.
See, that was a little more difficult. If I had to guess one person, and maybe this is just a personal wish of mine, maybe Shayna Baszler, get her back to where she was in NXT as like the dominant, destroyer who just broke all the women's arms and just pretty much dominated NXT for a period of time. That would be my pick, because everybody else, like Liv Morgan, she's kind of being pushed as like the next big star. She's kind of being pushed as the next big star right now. She's a SmackDown Women's Champion. Everybody else, it's in the air. But if I had one person, I think that would benefit the most, it'd be Shayna Baszler.
Yeah,
I would definitely love to see her get back to her dominating ways.
Yeah. For me, I think I mentioned. I think Ciampa is going to probably be presented better than what he is now.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get to be himself again. Maybe a slow burn of he's just starting to attack people randomly, like he's just proving that he's a menace again until somebody finally steps up to stop him. I think for when it comes to women's wrestlers, I think Shotzi might start getting better chances. I mean, Shotzi Blackheart is great. Like she has a great look. She's great in the ring. There's
bring back the tank.
Bring back Trips is going to give her the tank. Like, I think everybody's going to get their last names back as well. That'll be nice.
I just want Shotzi as a face again. That's all. She was really fun as a face. I'm not digging this heel stuff for her.
Yeah. I want people to get their full names back. That's another
Yeah.
thing. Like, I want people to get their full fucking names back. I want to call him Austin's Theory, not Theory. I want to call her Shotzi Blackheart. Yeah, I want to call him Pete Dunne. It's like that Butch is so. Oh god,
Except I want to call Gunther Walter again.
Yeah, just Walter, all caps. Yeah. It's just
all caps Walter. It's like they've never seen it. It's like they've never seen a Japanese
slaps. Like the slaps he gives people are like shotgun blast sounds.
Like a frying pan hitting you.
But yeah, I think Ciampa and Shotzi have a bright future if they can start being presented as better people, because Ciampa feels like an afterthought, and Shotzi is just kind of in these multi-women matches as, screen time, it feels like.
There's something to be said that all three of us had two different wrestlers
It's each. Almost like they're not giving everybody their due.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Despite Triple H now leading WWE in terms of creative, I don't think Roderick Strong's going to stay around. Like, I know Roderick Strong has had issues with his booking lately. And, his wife or fiance, or I think it's his wife, Marina Shafir, is in AEW now. So we're all of his Undisputed Era friends.
All of his Undisputed Era friends and his fiance/wife.
Yeah.
Let the man go. It's fine.
Yeah. And it's like he's running Diamond Mine now, which is, I don't even know what that is. I just know he's more of a manager role, I think, for it.
He's runs a factory. It's because they lost Malcolm Bivens.
Yeah. Who showed up in AEW, now managing Jade Cargill. So.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I feel like he fits with Jade Cargill so much better than Mark Sterling.
For sure.
They just flow together so well.
Stokely and Jade is gold.
It's
and
amazing.
I'll be the first to say, when Jade Cargill started, I didn't believe in her as somebody who should be pushed as hard as she was, but she's improved. She's put on great matches. I mean, they built her like a star. Like, her and Wardlow feel like
It's Goldberg 101. It's Goldberg 101.
They feel, her and Wardlow feel like the same style of character building, but it's so organic. And one is the biggest babyface, and she's the monster female heel on the roster. Like, it's two different directions, but they did such a good job. And Stokely being the voice, being the promo cutter for her. So, and then she has her two goons, it's the perfect heel faction.
I think my favorite part about Jade Cargill in particular is that she's not bad at promos. I think she gets in her own way. I think she's like a bit of a catchphrase machine.
Yeah.
As it were. Where her promos are like, cut the shit, Tony, and then three other things, and then I'm that bitch, and then and then end promo.
Yeah, but now Stokely feels like he's just more. He's just a good manager, which is something that wrestling in a lot of places needs at times, but people forget about them. A good manager can make a star.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you just got Wardlow just being the monster face that he is.
Wardlow just being a damn barbarian in general.
Unfortunately, though, he's only had one match since winning the TNT title, right? And that was Orange Cassidy.
Yeah. And then he gave him his props after that match.
And then he just hasn't been on because they've had other storylines currently running.
It's also kind of hard to find, the since they had babyface versus babyface, they can't always do baby versus baby matches,
Yeah. What I want in terms of moving to AEW for a second, what I want for Wardlow is to have an actual equal in terms of his first big feud. And I think if they don't put the titles on Team Taz, I think Hobbs and Wardlow as a feud could be just a display of two true AEW homegrown talents. Just
I think it would. I think it would be good. I think they have to have the angle where it's like
you have Ricky Starks
where
involved. Like
no, so Ricky Starks tries to get involved, and even Hobbs is like, no, I want to beat this guy's ass myself.
yeah, because I do like Hobbs as a heel, but when he was a babyface, also like he was great. He can do both roles really well. But I mean, those are just two homegrown guys, and
Something, but
it's just another thing. Like the creative minds, people can say their things about it, but AEW knows how to build stars, and they can lose clean and be rebuilt, or they can lose screwy and get sympathy if the storyline requires it. It's hard to say that for a lot of WWE guys, because when they lose, it's always for dumb reasons. And it's like you're not protecting them, or you're not giving sympathy. You just did a bad ending to this match.
Yeah, like one of my big issues with WWE is just how they build faces. Okay,
Yeah.
when they do stuff like that with baby faces, oftentimes they just make them look
They'll make
like
them look
absolute.
stupid.
They look like fucking idiots. Okay, because they'll get distracted and there'll be somebody outside the ring. They'll get distracted and they'll just start getting in their face. Refs counting to 10, and then next thing you know, the bell rings. And they just have this look in their face like. And
Yeah.
it's like it's so stupid, and they repeat this trope with so many baby faces, and it gets to the point where it just starts to ruin them.
Yeah,
It
it's
does.
like how many baby faces can walk into a match in a feud when their opponent has a partner and they know they're going to have a partner at ringside and not bring backup.
Exactly.
It's like every feud with a babyface and somebody who has an ally is always plays out the same way. And it's like
every Roman Reigns match.
I want them to start making baby faces smart. Okay.
Yeah.
Or either that, or if you know that hey, you have a partner and you can't bring backup, do something to outsmart the heel to get the victory. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, cause your own distraction. Okay. Use that person outside to distract your heel, your opponent, so you can get the
Or-
win. Like have them do something intelligent.
One of the other ways I like when they do that is when when they're having the promo and they're like goading them into the match and they're like, "You want the match? They have to go away, and they can't be at ringside."
Yeah. So
That would be nice.
I hope we see less of that. Like I hope we start seeing wrestlers that have an intelligence behind them. Like it's not just something for story purposes. It's like I want to feel these characters' personalities now. Like that, if there's one thing I hope that comes out of this is that everybody starts to feel different, which is something that I think WWE lacks. Nobody feels really unique unless you're at the top. Like Roman feels unique and Brock feels unique and Cody feels unique. Everybody else, it feels like a default setting on Create a Wrestler. Like
Cody's uniqueness is that he has 5 minutes of pyro and a 2-minute entrance.
I just want them to kind of feel. I just want the mid card guys to inject more of themselves into their character.
Yeah,
you get my drift. Just kind of
Yeah, I've said that before. Wrestling companies are at their best when their mid card is strong. That's why it's like, look at AEW. We have all these injured top guys right now, but the shows are still great because their mid card has been presented so well that they can take main event slots and perform in them. Like they can get the crowd behind them in these main events because they already know how good they are from what they're allowed to do in their position.
And they've had women's main events, they've had tag main events, they've had, people on the lower card as a main event.
I mean, you have a battle royale where Brody King of all people wins it. And that establishes a strong tag team. Malachi Black and Brody King have been presented as a very strong tag team, but also shows Brody King is strong on his own. And he also went toe-to-toe with Moxley.
Like Brody King is a wrecking machine.
The way that he eliminated
Darby,
what's his name, Darby, from that was brutal.
Yeah, the chokehold and then just dropping him.
Yeah,
the hang sleeper.
Yeah,
I love.
You could do that on Darby. I think he's like the right size for that. But it's like, that's the thing. It's like you just have this mid-card guy who's only been in tag team matches for the most part, being able that he can go toe-to-toe with their interim champion and Jon Moxley because of how well they've been presented on the mid-card. It's believable, you know?
And that's one of AEW's strengths. Like all of their mid card guys feel unique in their own way.
Your
Okay,
mid-card,
they feel unique enough to where you can just pop them in the main event slot and be like, oh, okay, well, this is actually kind of cool.
Your top level mid-card in AEW is Miro, Malachi Black, Pac, Brody King, Darby Allin, Sting, you know, Christian Cage. Like that's your mid to upper like mid-card level. And even like your lower end mid-card level is still like, you know, Best Friends, Private Party. You have Team Taz, and you know, FTR is like still kind of a like lower rung of the mid card right now because they're only in tag team stuff. So it's like, because the main tag team right now is Swerve and Keith Lee, but your secondary best, you're not your champions, but your secondary like best tag team has 3 companies' belts on them. Like
FTR.
It's wild. Like it is. It's just the 2 landscapes of these companies right now are so different. But I hope we can see some, you know, equilibrium between them, where the wrestlers in WWE start to feel unique and start to feel believable as characters. Also, you also probably need to find a new monster heel. Like I like Omos, but he just probably doesn't fit the main event scene.
I think if we can get some more like personality in it, almost where he's not just big and has a funny accent, I think he'd be fine.
Good choice though, having MVP as his manager.
Yes, for sure.
MVP is money. Like it's
sure.
It shocks me that people didn't see that back in the 2000s though. Like MVP is great.
MVP was he was a pretty good worker, but he was always great on promo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of pro wrestling fans missed out on MVP in the 2000s because MVP was just gold on the mic. Every time he gets up there, you want to hate him. You know, you want to talk shit to him, and he'll talk shit to you right back. And he's just so cool about it and smooth with it. And he comes out with these suits, and he just looks like this mom. I mean, he just looks like $1 million in every way possible.
Yeah.
Okay, MVP is my favorites.
The promo between Miz and MVP still lives rent free in my head. The one where the Miz goes off on people and like talks shit about JBL and like Evan Bourne and everybody, and then just gets up, and then him and MVP just go head to head. That lives rent free in my head. One of the top promos of all time.
Evan Bourne, that is Matt Sydal, right? Like that.
Yes. Yeah, Matt Sydal.
He still has the best Royal Rumble elimination. Getting clotheslined and then flipping off the apron to hit the floor. Like, still one of the best Royal Rumble eliminations. Matt Sydal's insane. And that's another thing, like, Matt Sydal is like a low mid card to just like low card guy in that company. And like that just shows the strength of like the lowest level of AEW, where they can have these workhorse guys able to put on good matches and train these younger guys. Like seeing Matt Sydal and Dante Martin together was great. And like Dante is a great wrestler, and I can't wait to see what he does in his career. I mean, it kind of sucks that his brother keeps getting injured, but Dante's been able to prove that he can stand on his own as a solos performer. It's very promising. The future is very promising for wrestling in general, even if they don't stay with AEW. But I think that's it. I guess we just have to kind of wait and see now, you know?
Yeah. It's definitely gonna be like a wait and see situation here.
Yeah. It's not gonna be an overnight, thing.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be overnight. It's not gonna be SummerSlam. It's not gonna be like the pay-per-view after that. It's gonna be like maybe even going into the new year is when we'll really start to see changes.
I'm gonna say this real quick. Going back to NXT, back when that first started, it took that company 2 to 3 years to get to the point where everybody remembers that as the NXT we all love. It took a couple years, but they got to that point.
Yeah.
With the main roster, I don't think it's gonna take that long. I would say maybe 12 to 24 months to kind of work out all the issues. But I believe once they get past that period, you're gonna start to see the change from how McMahon runs things to how Triple H runs things.
At least
And
in ring quality too. Like matches might not be as formulaic as they are now. You know, if I can start seeing like a little more creativity and a little more freedom, I'll be happy with what we're getting.
a little more long-term storytelling also, that'd be great too.
Yeah, just feuds that go on, you know.
Yeah.
At least, you know, a 6 month, 3 month, 6 month period.
Just
not it's like
don't give me Roman and Brock
4 weeks.
10. Like that feud should have ended at the unification, but it didn't.
I don't think
No.
Brock's coming back after this pay-per-view.
I don't think so either.
So
yeah, I think he's after this.
Because this would have been.
I love his personality. I love Brock Lesnar as a person. He's just a fucking farmer boy from Iowa. I vibe with that, but he just he's not great in the ring anymore. He doesn't have the constitution to go as long as he used to.
Yeah.
And even that was still pretty limited because he was a big guy.
Yeah. So not going to be an instant fix, but hopefully we start to see the seeds of, you know, greatness being planted in the roster. Especially a lot of people have a good relation to Triple H. So I think it's going to be easier to talk to him about things creatively now.
I think almost universally Triple H is pretty well liked as far as like the office Triple H. Maybe not so much the in-ring Triple H because he was kind of a dick, but the office Triple H is great.
Yeah, so hopefully we can start seeing seeds planted for changes, you know, and I hope that the thing is when wrestling is good everywhere, everybody wins.
Everyone has a good show that they can watch and be like, hey, did you see that match? And everyone's like, that match was a fucking banger.
I just want the conversation to end of fanboys. I just want AEW fanboys and WWE fanboys to stop.
I need them all to go touch some grass somewhere.
Go touch some grass, please.
You know,
the big question is ultimately down the line, could we see that cross-pollination though?
That forbidden door.
That the actual true forbidden door.
You talking about AEW and WWE working together?
Vince feels like he just had the mentality of fuck you, got mine. Like, this is my company, wrestling is mine. But if, you know, it's like, hey, we can make a good relationship.
You want my tinfoil hat theory?
Yeah.
Not the wrestler. Cody Rhodes going as the executive of AEW, going to WWE with all of his shit like he had in AEW, like almost exactly copy pasted, is AEW's AEW for someone up there knew that Vince was going to retire soon, and was like, hey, we're gonna send you Cody. We're gonna here's us like trying to, you know, bring up communication.
Yeah. I wouldn't even feel bad if it's like, if in a hypothetical perfect wrestling world, every company works together in some way. Even if it's just, hey, wrestlers from this company appear on your show when we're not using them. You know? Yeah.
It's like what they're doing with AEW's doing with Ring of Honor, right?
Yeah. And
they have Brian Cage on there. I haven't seen Brian Cage in like 2 years.
Yeah, and then they got rid of Tully Blanchard. So it's like, I don't know what's going on with Ring of Honor right now. I know John Grissom wants out. So there's a lot.
He is out.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. But I would love to see like a Survivor Series between WWE and AEW, a la like a revamped, better told Invasion angle, where every match is just decided by a coin flip. Make it completely random, and then figure out the match based on that result. So it's like, hey, let's have our tag team champions go at it. Hopefully this is with a unified WWE tag team title, so it's not 2v1, because that would be kind of stupid. But it's like, give me like WWE tag team, AEW tag team, and it's just like, all right, guys, coin flip.
Bring back the pay-per-view bragging rights, but make it where they go cross promotion.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, it's like, all right, coin flip wins. WWE wins the match. You guys discuss how this match is going to go. We're going to give you 15 minutes in the ring. And then it's like world champions. It's like a single coin flip for the better world champion.
I don't know. Coin flips are
That's
too random because then you're gonna have a bunch of WWE people winning out because of a shitty coin flip.
So they put all the titles. They put the All Atlantic, Intercontinental, the women's titles, and all that, and then they're just like, "All right, we're going to draw straws."
Yeah, there you go.
And it's like you pick up, and it's like, "Okay, I win. I'm going to pick the tag match. We win the tag match." And then it's just draw straws.
I wouldn't mind that. That would be fun.
And it's like, all right, what do you? It's like a draft. It's just okay. What title match do you want to win? And it's
like some weird League of Legends draft where they're like, okay, we'll win this one. You can have that one, and you go like that.
I wouldn't even be like upset if they just told their world champions, discuss it amongst yourself who wins this, and then they just leave the room. So the executives are watching the match like, oh no, who's going to win this?
That would be fun.
It's like in the perfect fantasy world, it's like, give me undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk. Like, give me that match just in my veins right now. But it's like, that's just like the perfect fantasy world. But I would love to see in some way WWE start to do that. I know they did it with Mickie James during the Women's Royal Rumble. They called her the Knockouts champion for Impact.
Impact, yeah, champion.
So it was like, all right, we have to admit there's other companies. It's like,
might as well.
It's just, if WWE can embrace the greater wrestling canon, they can tell better stories because they can acknowledge past. They can say like, hey, Seth Rollins won the Ring of Honor title, he like all this other stuff. And then it's like, hey, these guys won the New Japan titles, formed Bullet Club in Japan with AJ Styles. It's like stuff like that,
I've got one for you. There's a match, and for some reason, it's Kyle. Where's Kyle O'Reilly been? I haven't seen him in a hot minute.
All of Undisputed Elite right now is injured.
Oh, yeah, they're injured.
Cole, Fish, and O'Reilly are all out with injuries right now.
So you have them three in a tag match against whoever in WWE, and then here comes Roderick Strong once again. On whose side is he going to take? He ends up taking the Undisputed Tim, and that's how you tell people, oh, he's on AEW now.
Yeah, and it's like, that's the thing. It's like when the ecosystem is healthy, everybody wins. Mm-hmm. And if you start doing these cross promo shows where it's like, hey, this guy won titles in this other company, then they get eyes on another company. It's like, hey, we like this guy in Ring of Honor. So when he comes to WWE, it's like, oh, we know this guy. Mm-hmm. People can get more invested into wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing. It's like you drop all these people, these the new debuts, and it's like, oh, he's from New Japan, but nobody's ever watched New Japan because they've only watched WWE. Who is this guy?
And they run a video package.
And then Veer Mahan shows up, and then he's regulated to doing whatever he's doing. So it's just a lot. Like there's a lot that could come from this, and in a perfect world, it helps everybody. But it's still a business at the end of the day, so we can only hope. But I think that is probably it that I have to say about it. I'm excited to see where it goes.
I think we've all come to the agreement that like this is going to take 12 months maybe at the earliest to see any like tangible change.
Yeah,
but I think we'll get there.
Now on the subject of WWE versus AEW, well, I would love to see all that stuff, but I think for now that ball's in WWE's core.
It's definitely in WWE's core right now. AEW is proven we're more than happy to work with other companies.
It's just that Triple H and Stephanie and Nick Khan are more than willing to step outside the WWE universe, and kind of work with other companies.
Yeah.
I think it's possible, but I guess only time can tell, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that.
I, for one, am excited to see what happens in the post-Vince era.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's what it is now. It's like, this isn't the PG era. It's now the post-Vince era. So...
And there's a lot of optimism going around right now that Vince McMahon is out of the picture.
Yeah.
I, for one, welcome my new "It's time to play the game" overlords.
That's the thing. It is time to play the games. But I guess with that, we'll probably conclude this episode here, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a good episode.
So thank you, X, for coming on to the show again, for talking wrestling with
always.
us for an hour and 20 minutes. But it's always great to talk to people who have, the same kind of hobbies and interests and stuff, especially when something big like this happens. Like this retiring is probably the biggest news in wrestling history since, AEW announcement. And before that, it was WCW closing. Like it just feels like one of those like landmark moments of the wrestling environment.
It definitely is a landmark moment, considering how much Vince McMahon has shaped the pro wrestling industry over the last 40 or so odd years.
Yeah.
This is very much a landmark case we have going on right now.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
If we still had the territories, if one of them like ended up like retiring and we had social media like we did now, it would be just as big.
Yeah. Like that's a whole like other story of like what if the territory still existed in modern day.
Yeah.
Like that's just 6 or 7 different promotions, but probably all still working together. But again, X, thank you for coming on to the show. Deca, it's always good to see you here on the podcast.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Thank you, everybody, for listening in on this episode or watching it on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube and Spotify without context. Sometimes you have to put the little brackets because of search engine optimizations. Probably should have thought about that before I put the actual bracket in the name.
Too late.
But yeah, YouTube and Spotify. Share it out if you're a wrestling fan. In the comments, as always, Deca answers a lot of them. What are your thoughts on this for wrestling, and what do you hope to see, coming out of this for wrestling?
I want to hear from you.
I feel like the internet wrestling community will be very vocal about it, but again, that's just the internet. That's the nature of the beast, and I guess we'll have to see. But everybody's links are down in the description, and I guess we will see you all next Friday. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. You'll see
you
me
later.
on Monday.
You'll see Deca on Monday with his D&D episode going up, yeah. But you'll see the rest of us on Friday. Goodbye.
Bye.